Hello and welcome to the Torch Snuffers podcast. I'm your host, Alicia, and with me is my wonderful group of panelists. We have Stephen Lehman.
Hello.
Prince Ty Hewitt.
Good evening.
And our survivor favorite of our hearts, Billy Garcia from the Cook Islands.
Hello, Survivorverse.
Hello, Billy.
Yes. Hello there.
I wonder if we are going to be talking about Survivor season 35,
Triple
Heroes,
H.
Healers, Hustlers, yada yada. But I think what we're mostly going to be talking about is the insane tribal council that we saw tonight. It was, in a word, bananas.
BANANAS.
Yes.
Well done, Stephen.
It was crazy. We had people flinging things into the fire. We had yelling. We had like the new school Survivor scramble of people literally getting up out of their seats and talking to each other, the whispering. It was madness. It was madness. And
It was.
Couldn't believe it.
I'm still kind of dumbfounded by what happened. Although it did prove interesting because I feel like you saw the drawback to playing the new school tribal council that seems to have happened in the last few seasons, where everyone just openly says, "Oh shit, let's vote for Ben now." But Ben actually had a card to play that nobody knew about. So if you are going to play Survivor in a way where you're just overtly saying, "I'm going to vote you out to this person that's like sitting right next to you," like there are ramifications to that. And I'm kind of wondering if we'll see more of that in the future, or if people might pause because, there could be powers you don't know about. And if there is a power you don't know about, then it very well may blow up your game, which it did. Compared to Lauren, who, God bless her, she apparently didn't even realize what Survivor was really and was out there for her sister. And it showed tonight because she gave up half of her idol after getting that.
Yeah. Because speaking of powers in the game, Lauren had two very powerful items. She had an extra vote and she had a hidden immunity idol until she didn't, because she gave half of it to Mike.
Yeah. It was even worse than that. She said that she had left her extra vote back at camp.
Right.
So it was even worse. It's like, why would you leave any power back at camp and not take it with you to tribal council? Yeah, this was basically what's a good way to put it? This is sort of like a how to not play Survivor. It's sort of a textbook or a chapter in a textbook got written tonight on how not to play the game.
Yeah, it's like Survivor Failure 101. Study this if you want to definitely lose.
Yes, the word I was looking for was clinic. She put on a clinic on how not to play Survivor.
And yet she would have stayed. That's the crazy part about it. She did literally everything wrong tonight. She said that she left her super special power at home, which just was the shadiest thing in the world and would have immediately made me not trust her. I would have been like, "Oh yeah, that's convenient. Your super special power just happens to not be there." Okay, I definitely would have voted for her for that. And yet they didn't vote her then. And let's say she survives tonight, which is what they were planning on doing. She would have had that power, and her alliance would have been in the final three, despite her being an idiot tonight. On epic proportions, she would have gotten away with it if not for Ben pulling an idol out. That's nuts. It's insane.
Yeah, I would say if Ben doesn't have the idol, Lauren probably, makes endgame, maybe even wins.
Possibly. Right. Which is insane. Because she... You could just tell that she didn't know what she was... I mean, you can understand it. She got her extra vote. She told everyone in her alliance she wanted to build trust. She found this fancy idol that was in two parts that looked much crappier than Ben's fake idol or Bob's fake idol from Gabon. It really was the crappiest idol that I've ever seen. It's like a shell and like a string. There's nothing extra on it. Like it was just I wouldn't have believed it was a real idol, to be honest with you. I think that might be why Mike threw it in the fire.
It makes the stick look like a work of art, honestly.
I wouldn't go that far.
Well, and
sick. Wait, it's real though.
Yeah.
I swear.
It's just
my
a
thing
shell,
with
and then he puts it in the fire. Like, but
it's and the thing about the shell was that it wasn't even like a shell with a design or emblem or anything on it. It was literally just like a shell production probably found on the beach. And they were like, okay, so we're going to do this thing. And like, we're going to put it in front of someone's podium. What shell looks the most believable, guys? And that's what happened.
You think that's what happened? I think what happened was production was like, all right, we got to hide another idol. Bring the other idol. What happened to the idols that we had from earlier this season? Oh, shit. Come on, look around, guys. We got a shell. All right, let's just go with it. Come on. Let's go with it. We got to do.
Yeah.
Keep the game moving. Keep moving.
Oh my gosh. And not only did we have the one shell, we had the other half of the shell that Lauren gave to Mike. Now, Billy, obviously we are kind of Survivor experts, but you are the Survivor expert.
Oh.
How often are you giving half of your immunity idol away to someone and then actually have that someone not even really be in your alliance anymore? Like you were chill at one point and now you weren't. Like,
I'd like to take a moment right now, just a solemn moment for all of us to say to Eric Reisenbach, you are off the hook now. Finally, after all these years, you are off the hook, Eric. God bless you. Enjoy this time. Have dinner. You are finally off the hook. We got a new biggest idiot of all time that gave away her immunity to someone who's not even in her alliance. You are off the hook, Eric. God bless you.
Who threw it? Yeah. Who gave it to someone who threw it into the fire at tribal council in front of everyone. And then what Billy?
I was gonna say, and then got voted out. That's the best part. That's the best part.
So
she didn't even get voted out. She just got idled out. Like it's.
She did get
one vote. Hey,
one vote. All it takes is
right.
one.
Like,
and if she'd had her secret advantage, she could have written any random person's name down, and suddenly it's a tie, and suddenly maybe that person goes home and every way to not go home, and she managed to botch all of them. It is truly remarkable and the saddest, most confusing, and yet like it's kind of like roadkill. It's like you didn't want to see it, but like
but you can't look away.
It's horrifying, but like
it's a NASCAR crash. Somebody turned right. Lauren turned right tonight, and this is what happens when you turn right in Survivor. It just all gets blown up. You know, it does.
I don't know if we were gonna do year-end awards, but I'm just gonna go ahead and proclaim my pie in the face award for this season. This automatically goes to Lauren because that will not be topped. So I might as well just give it to her now.
No, I mean, I hope it's never topped because that would just be sad. Although kind of amazing to watch people out Lauren in that regard. But let's talk about Mike for a second, because Mike threw Lauren's idol in the fire, even try and get rid of her. To me,
well, what I was going to say is I wonder if it was almost a ruse of some sort. Like maybe it was just obviously an elaborate ruse to be like thinking that crap to be like.
But it wasn't a ruse.
I know, but I don't know. I don't.
But in what way do you sacrifice a full idol just to pull off some like shitty sham? Like it just doesn't make sense.
Well, to be fair,
but Billy, you're back at camp after someone has you miraculously make it through. Someone has thrown out half of your idol in front of you, and you're like at camp the next day. How hard are you gunning for that person that went against you?
Oh, of course with Christy still around, she would have been a bigger threat. But at the same time, remember that Christy was such an emotional player. felt like he was going to be safe from Wrath, and at the same time, he gets to get rid of something that he felt was a threat to him, that he was never going to get the other half. He was going to have to turn that over after the vote. So I think that's kind of where Mike was thinking. But at the same time, man, you know, he's a penis doctor, so what else could you expect except for him to screw Lauren?
It was amazing. Like, I think it might be one of my favorite Survivor Tribal Council moments I've ever seen. Just the shock that was on my face after he flung it in the fire and then yelled that it would never be played. It was truly spectacular.
There was a ton of people on Twitter like, you know, for $1 million, man, just cinch your fingers, go in there and get it. Like it's and I've been there. So I could tell you that it's not fire all the way across. That this is like I don't want to say make believe fire, but they're like little cylinders of fire. So if it falls in between the cylinders, you can just reach in there and get it. So
oh my god.
Yeah, I'd have done
that
it.
would have made for the most awkward, like uncomfortable.
Yeah. Lauren just like diving into the fire, like
oh damn, now I'm like really upset it didn't happen. That would have topped. I did not think this tribal council could be topped.
They'd have to have a Mike Scoop and Lauren Rimmer returning season, and that wouldn't happen anytime soon. Because
I would have took. This is what I'd have done. To be honest with you, this is another crazy ass Billy idea. I'd have grabbed my torch, and I'd have used it to fend off anybody who's about to stop me from what I'm doing. That's with one hand. With the other hand, I'd have wrapped my buff around my hand so I could stick my hand in there, grab the what is it, the seashell that's probably gonna be super hot now, and I'd have held it with the buff, and I'd have played it right there. I'd have been like, screw it, that's it. Tonight we're playing it. It might not even make it back to the camp anyway because it's gonna disintegrate.
Are you saying that if you're Lauren, because it was completely worthless to literally anybody else, particularly because Lauren ended up going home anyway? Oh, okay.
Or if I was Lauren, yeah, because it's her. That's the other half. So yeah.
Billy, I'm just imagining you gloriously like fending off people with a torch.
With the torch.
I feel like into a fucking fire. Hashtag bring back Billy Garcia for this TV moment. It will not be topped. Oh man. But I don't know. Now that Lauren is out, we're left with 6 people. And to me, I'm really continuing to see everyone kind of making an argument for why they deserve to win. I think we've got a lot of winner contenders left. What do you guys think?
I think it's a wide open field because they're all deeply flawed players that are left. You have Chrissy, who's probably the smartest strategist out of any of them, but she is also a ridiculous game bot who managed to have a heartfelt moment with her husband almost, and then all of a sudden she's just like, but I won immunity yesterday, tee-hee. And then like Jeff Probst even made the quip, she's in game mode right away. Again, like shock and all, it's Chrissy, that's what she is. She's a game bot. She was petty as shit, which is entertaining, but like I just don't see her winning because she doesn't have a complete game. But she could make it there now because everything's thrown asunder. Ben's been a strong contender, but he went nuts and blew up his own alliance, probably prematurely. He wouldn't have had to play his idol, and he could have easily saved that for 5 if he had not gone off the rails because of a little bit of paranoia. Well, like Devin's overconfident because they're an obvious pair now. I don't know. I just feel like they're all flawed, which got overshadowed by how stupid Lauren was tonight. But I don't know. It's wide. I have no idea who's going to win now. I have none. It might be the Dick Doctor.
I agree with just about everything you said, except I'll add that Devin, you know, he wins depending on who he sits next to. Because he needs to, if he sits next to some people that the jury's going to be very bitter against, all he has to do is smile and talk about how he's, you know, he brings light and all that other stuff that he likes to talk about. But now if he sits next to a Dr. Mike who made some moves and you know, just sits next to the people that actually made some moves, he's got nothing to talk about really. Because what was his big moves really? Except he was part of stuff.
He was part of, honestly, I feel like he would probably be best off against Ryan and Chrissy. Despite the fact that Chrissy's a much better game player, she's a bitch. And she won't win in Final Tribal Council because she will rub people the wrong way.
Yeah,
she will.
I think Devin
Ryan's
wins.
kind of a little weasel.
I think Devin wins if he sits next to Chrissy and Ben, who will spend their whole tribal council eating each other alive, and he sits there looking pretty and looking like a likable person.
I think Devin wins against Ashley, and
there's no way they both get there now, though.
I mean, I think anyone against Ashley, to be honest. She's been very concerned about trying to make moves and making moves, and yet all of the moves she talks about maybe making were given to her as thoughts by other players. So I wonder.
I think she's
going
next.
Get to the end, but then that will be the big problem with people not voting for her is because she didn't make the moves.
I think her whole game of winning has to be that she's pretty much a challenge monster in the game. And she's got to play that up, but challenge monsters rarely win.
Mm-hmm.
Rarely. Yeah. That's not an argument that's gone over a lot, maybe once. Maybe once it's gone over.
Well, Brad Cole
Mike Holloway's the only thing.
And got to the end and nobody gave a shit. So that's a recent example of that not getting you the win. That being said, I don't think there's any way both of them get to the end after they both were just we're an inseparable pair. She's going to go rub me down now.
Right.
So have a good one. She just, I don't see how she survives the next episode, or unless Devin is the one that goes. But Devin's gotten a much better edit, which makes you think he'll make finale over her. But, we will see. We will see. I think if Dr. Mike makes it to the end, he wins, though, because he's the only healer. There's a bunch of healers on the jury. I feel like he would easily win with the underdog arc based on who is left and their general personalities and such. I think Ben had a great argument until tonight, and then he went nuts and nearly got himself voted out if he didn't have a secret idol. So I've seen cracks in his game where he was looking good early, and now reminds me of Brad Cole.
He went nuts tonight. I don't know. People were talking about it. People were talking about it all episode, so it wasn't just suddenly out of the blue they did it. I mean, I know at Tribal they were talking about still voting Lauren, but then they didn't, and they voted him, which, okay, I guess is an argument for why it flipped. Right. But it seemed to me like it was a close argument. They were very torn on what to do.
But he would have been in no danger if he didn't immediately freak out and tell everyone everything about. He had to know that Chrissy hated him. He did know that Chrissy hated him. And yet his play was to go for it right now. He could have waited until the next episode, used his hidden idol that was around, and kept himself safe with that and made some sort of new majority with Mike and Ryan or something or other, who had been completely desperate at that point to save themselves in any way, shape, or form. And idiot Lauren wouldn't have known that she needed her extra vote because no one would have told her, because if anyone was going to tell her that, it would have been Ben. So it just, he had a really good spot and he put himself in the chopping block by going nuts. So I do feel like he went nuts this episode unnecessarily. As somebody who knows all too well how that goes, that's what he did. That's what he did tonight. But Steven, do you have thoughts? You look like you have a thought.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you, Ty. There's an old adage that has been uttered on Survivor a few times, and it's just because you're paranoid does not mean that they're not out to get you. I do agree that Ben was paranoid, but I mean, I think it could have easily just been pulled off. Shutting up, pretending everything's good, playing the idol on himself, it's over. I feel like there's power in not blowing up everything, because that way you can have control over something, right? So if Ben just shuts up, thinks everything's great, plays the idol, done. But now he's burned all out of bridges. He's he's seen as the number one threat realistically to get to the end. And if he does get to the end, I still suspect he wins. It's just a matter of whether or not he gets to the end. But I think there's power in sort of just sometimes silence is golden, as they say. But obviously Ben didn't necessarily take that route tonight.
Well, I think the up, like why Ben went bonkers. The episode at the beginning was like they perceived Ben as a threat. Remember previously on Survivor, they perceived Ben as a threat, but they went ahead and voted the way they did. And then, coming back to the into the episode, like right away, like they're talking about Ben, and then the thing at the well happens. They're once again talking about Ben. So I get the feeling that Ben was aware that, they're talking about him, and it's starting to increase that talk. So once he heard the whispering and then the sudden stop, he thought, okay, this is the moment when they're going to get me. And technically, it might have been, it might have been if Ben hadn't interrupted.
True.
That's where the conversation was going. So I feel like Ben was justified, but, it's Survivor, so of course there's going to be a lot of denial and playing coy. Who was talking about you? Of course not. We would never talk about you.
They probably should have done it last episode if they were going to do it at all, honestly. They had the opportunity to do it last episode. Keep both Mike and Joe happy, or then you would have just needed to get rid of one of Chrissy or Mike, and then you would have had your extra vote, and you would have gone to the end with your desired alliance. So there's that lesson as well, that they maybe should have made the move and they waited a little bit too long too. But I don't know.
Yep.
Who knows?
And Joe was kind of pointing that out with little subtitles when he was at in the jury box.
He did.
Yep.
I totally agree.
Joe's not as crazy as we thought.
Yeah, we had a lot of Joe facial expressions tonight, including one at the end that was like, "Oh, what a shit show! Like I can't believe it."
Yeah, this is what happens when they keep Ben.
It is.
That is what he said verbatim.
I don't know. It was a crazy tribal council, and certainly emotions ran very high. Emotions also ran very high for a much better reason earlier in the episode, because we got to see the loved ones. And it made me
I'm surprised that they had the budget to get them out there, considering what their challenge ended up being. I assume they didn't fly private, that's for certain. But
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I felt like the challenge was so juvenile with like pulling marbles out and stuff. I felt like, if we were to have like a Survivor game between like kids in an elementary school, like this is what it would look like. We're like, all right, kids, we got a bag of marbles. If you match the marble with your buddy, you guys are still in. If not, you sit down and you color your coloring book.
Now, kids, don't put the marble in your mouth. Like, yeah, it was really disappointing. I know we on the podcast last week were very hyped to get another challenge where the loved ones were finally going to participate and kind of help their Survivor player, win. And to go from past challenges where we've seen literally like people like running around and like spinning things and using ropes, like all this crazy stuff, and it being really exciting and really kind of exhausting, and they get like a feel for what a taste of what it's like to really be on the show, and then to just have them stand there and it just is totally up to chance, just a 50-50 split, and will this marble be white or will it be black? It was just very underwhelming.
Yeah,
there's a game in New York City that's played by all the delivery guys, the Chinese food delivery guys and the Mexican food delivery guys, where when they have nothing to deliver, they just pull out like a handful of quarters and they'll flip them, and the guy who flips first, if you match him, you get to keep the quarter. If you don't match him, you get to keep your quarter. That's what I was thinking when I was watching this. I was like, wait a minute. This is like the gambling that the delivery guys do. Man, what is this?
Huh.
And where's my tacos?
yeah.
The only thing I could possibly think of is that they discovered that maybe one of the loved ones had like a heart condition or was somehow unphysically fit to do whatever challenge they were going to think of. So maybe they had to scramble for an activity that someone could do. I'm thinking Ryan's dad. Ryan's dad didn't exactly look fit. So maybe it was him, and they figured he couldn't do something. I don't know.
Okay, so why not do like the old chalkboard and chalk, where try to match the answer.
Oh, yeah.
That's better. Maybe they didn't have chalkboard and chalk then again. Maybe it disappeared with the idol.
Island.
No, I remember. Yeah, Pearl Islands. I remember that one.
Yeah.
I feel like we should be checking on. You should be checking on Amazon to see whether or not a chalkboard is more expensive than a set of marbles, basically.
Yeah, because it might have.
I wonder if that disappeared along with the idol when they were like, oh crap. Well, what do we got? We got a shell. We got marbles.
We got rocks for in case it goes there. In a tribal council.
Well, they had thrown all those fake ones in the fire throughout the years. Like they could have used Bob's idol if they didn't throw it in the fire.
Yeah.
This had to be so destructive.
Yeah. My one wonder was like with the white and black, do we think that they felt different at all? Because like I would be trying to figure out like, oh, is one rougher than the other, or is like, are they?
I can't imagine. Well, a fun little fact. In Marquesas, when Pascal got the purple rock, he said it feels purple. Different, but God, that just dated me in my Survivor years. But yeah, no, I imagine the marbles probably felt the same.
I think there would be a heat because black attracts more heat.
I think
the white one would be just slightly colder.
All right.
Yeah, because
I just figured maybe the black would be a little rougher and like the white would be smoother. I don't know. I just felt that in my heart.
What do you have against black marble?
Why's the black one got to be rougher? I mean,
because I just figured like black would be. It looked like it was more of like a matte finish, and then the white one looked like a little shinier.
Okay.
So possibly smoother.
To quote RuPaul, why it got to be black.
Good luck.
Anyway, it was disappointing. It was just all luck and no skill or no effort, really. Like, I just figure, like,
and it couldn't have been just 2 marbles in the bag. There had to have been like,
there had to be
3 marbles in each bag or something like that.
Yeah,
it was the perfect result though. Like Chrissy getting to smugly win after like just managing to pick a rock twice, and then like having all that power in her hands was just delicious. I loved it. I loved it so much.
I will say though, I still miss how we had to have like actual challenges for the loved ones, or in Guatemala's case, it was an auction item. You had to bid on your loved one.
That was good.
Yeah, so that would have been a fun little twist, but I don't think the auction's ever coming back. So,
on my season, we had a challenge where they had buckets of water, and they had the loved one had to get the water from the ocean, and then toss the bucket of water, or just toss the water out of the bucket towards their loved one with another bucket that was on the other side of this like fencing thing. And then they would run with whatever water they got left from their loved one and pour it into a third bucket. And, the bucket, once it fills, it would lower the flag or raise a flag. Yeah. And that's how you won. But, of course, the survivor player would get drenched in water from the loved one, which was what made the challenge awesome.
Well, I remember because that was after Parvati sliced her finger open. And that was like, hey, Parvati, can you get your finger wet? I mean, a little drenched, so that was innocent Parvati. So
yeah.
Well, she proved in Micronesia she's not so innocent,
right?
With the witches brew or whatever they called it.
Oh god.
Yeah. But Eric's off the hook. Eric's off
the hook. Yeah.
That is. I don't know. I mean, as unfun as that challenge was, I didn't think that the immunity challenge was all that much better. It was just it It was a very underwhelming episode challenge-wise, although thank goodness it was a very exciting episode drama-wise.
Yeah.
But yeah, I felt like the whole focus of the immunity challenge was really just like, okay, here's a seashell. Is Lauren gonna pick it up? Why, yes, she is, because it doesn't look remotely suspicious. It just looks like she's bored.
Yeah.
It was so unsuspicious. She put it on her lap in front of everybody.
Said it on top of her knee. Like,
yeah. I think my favorite part of that was Lauren just sort of being like, and then just taking her stuff and be like, I'm done. Like,
yeah.
Poor Lauren.
Tonight was not a good night for her.
She just wasn't the most strategic. Like, even with her greeting of her loved one, she wasn't doing the whole like fanfare of like trying to make it really emotional. So just in case she lost, like someone might pick her out of guilt. Like everyone else was doing that, but not Lauren. No. And I knew she just wasn't going to get picked no matter what.
I think for me the most refreshing thing about Lauren was that she feels kind of like an old school character, like someone who we'd get in like, you know, early days of Survivor, like Borneo before All Stars, just because she's so like real and she, you know, she is strategic, but that's not like really her whole thing. I really appreciated Lauren as a character, so I want to get on the Lauren soapbox and say she's probably going to be one of my favorites this season, if not my favorite this season. Like,
well, she's the hag, so
no, she's not. Is a thing though, because Chrissy is.
No, Chrissy's more the villain. So
Chrissy transcends that, I guess. But
right, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I.
Chrissy's got boobs.
No, Lauren, Lauren and Parvati are the same age, I think.
Are they? They can't be.
I want to say they're like pretty close in age.
Yeah, I don't know.
I gotta fact check that.
You're close.
I gotta declare fake news on that because how can that be? Hold on.
Yeah,
I'm looking up.
You won't keep talking.
Boy, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, she was 23 in Cook Island, so that would have been in 1983-ish. And Lauren is 35 now, so 1982-ish. So they're about the same age.
Well, there you go.
Is that what I'm going to look like in 3 years? Okay, anyway, there we go. We've discovered a lot today, family. We have discovered a lot today. We've discovered mortality. Anyway.
And as always, I'm looking forward to next week. It kind of just looks like Ben continues to blow up his spot until he doesn't.
Until somebody else blows up even more.
Yeah, that seems to be the name of the game this season, honestly.
Yeah. Weeks till the finale?
Let's see, the finale
because it's not next week, it's the week after.
20th. So we've got like two more weeks.
Yep.
We've got next week, and then the following week will be the finale.
Wow.
I know. It's crazy. We still have 6 people, and we've got to bring it down to, I guess, presumably 3.
No. Final 3. Yeah. The final episode.
Although I will say,
5.
It is nice that we're just getting a final 5 finale instead of like a super bloated like final 6 finale like we've gotten the past 2 seasons or so, where it's just like, oh hey, we have to get rid of 3 tribal councils and like 3 challenges in 2 hours. Like, let's go. That it's going to be a little more, you know.
Yeah, I think last week's double episode helped in that sense.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure. But I don't know. Good things to come. It's been an exciting season, and I think that will very well continue. So thanks for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Have a lovely day.